to Jonathan Taylor. Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor made a man miss the line of scrimmage and then runs it into Pater for a one-handed INT. Are you kidding me? Kenny Moore.
What a play by Nyheim Hines.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice Colts podcast. So, Colts kind of made a little bit of a controversial pick here in the 6th round. They traded back to acquire an extra 7th pick. And with that pick that they acquired, they selected quarterback Sam Ehlinger from Texas. Anyone knows that 2 years ago, Sam Ehlinger helped the Texas Longhorns end up beating the Georgia Bulldogs. And I believe it was either the Sugar Bowl or the Orange Bowl. It was a really big win, and Texas was riding high at that time. And then after that, the Texas program continued to falter, probably not because of Sam Ehlinger, but a lot of other things that attributed to that. But, I mean, we're going to break down our thoughts on this, and we're going to talk about why we think this pick was done. And obviously more information is going to come out from Ballard. But the question that everyone immediately was asking, what does this pick do to Jacob Eason?
Yeah.
What exactly does this mean?
Yeah. It was surprising. I was actually asleep, and I heard Derek say a quarterback, and I was like, oh, great. Here we go. More controversy in the freaking 6th round. If people weren't freaking out about a 2nd-round edge guy again, can you imagine people freaking out in the 6th round over a quarterback? And I tweeted out, I was like, can we just not freak out about a quarterback in the 6th round? I know it is a little bit surprising. I was surprised myself, but also I think of, okay, you think from the Colts perspective on Jacob Eason, you like the talent there, never played an NFL game, has pretty much the same amount of NFL experience as Sam Ehlinger up to this point. Add some competition to your quarterback room, right? Because Carson Wentz has had some injury history, right? And who's to say, I guess, that Jacob Eason is slam dunk 100% your backup quarterback? I mean, Chris Ballard and Frank Reich have not committed to that yet.
Yes.
So I don't think a little bit of a surprise, yes, but also okay, this is them adding competition to this quarterback room. If Jacob Eason truly is, the guy as the backup quarterback for this year, well, then it shouldn't be a problem. It should just push him to be even better. But I do think ultimately it's just continuing to add competition. I don't see Sam Ehlinger beating Jacob Eason out because I think Jacob Eason is a better player. But at the same point, you never know. I mean, he's a very athletic guy. This is a comparison. He was drawing a comparison to Tim Tebow. So he's a very athletic guy. Maybe the Colts use him in some other ways. I don't know exactly what they do with him. Probably not. But, very athletic guy. And you know what? It's just such an interesting pick here in that 6th round.
If it was any other team, where it was an offensive scheme where Frank Reich likes to have a semi-mobile quarterback where they can run the RPO, which is something that Sam Ehlinger used to do a little bit at Texas. Yeah. And Jacob Eason did not. Jacob Eason and Sam Ehlinger are a completely different kind of quarterback. Oh, yeah. Not saying that Eason can't get out of the pocket. We've seen a few times that he could, but Eason's never had the ability to run and go get his own play and do things like that. Ehlinger has that ability. And Ehlinger, just like Jacob Eason, he launched the football, man. He does have a good rocket of an arm. Again, I think everybody is just blowing this one way out of proportion. I think a 6th round pick.
Can you believe it? People freaking out.
It's a 6th round draft pick. It's a quarterback that most likely is going to fill the 3rd spot on the roster for the quarterback room. I mean, we knew this was happening because Jacoby Brissett is gone. We haven't re-signed guys like Hoyer and anyone else to come be the backups. Right now, the Colts were only putting in at 2 quarterbacks. And like Cody said, Eason's not played either. Eason's not played any. He's been in the system now for a year and, is going to have more time to learn. And it's ultimately for, like you said, with the competition for that backup spot. So in case Carson Wentz does go down, There's a possibility for either one of those guys to step in and do things the way they want it to be done. It shouldn't be any more than that. It really isn't any more than that. But also, in that same breath, do I believe that Sam Ehlinger can at some point outpass Jacob Eason just due to how he plays football? Knowing Frank Reich, I definitely believe there's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's a possibility.
Yeah, and it's interesting now because I think Colts have just been going BPA, right? Best player available.
Yep.
Obviously, they saw something in Sam Ehlinger to take him here in that 6th round. They traded back, you said, and got another 7th round pick. They'll be picking here in a few minutes. But yeah, it's just we knew this was going to be controversial from the second we saw it be picked.
Yep,
we just wanted to talk about it. I know there are some fans that say I felt like there were some other needs the Colts could have addressed here in that 6th round, but obviously the Colts felt like Ehlinger was the best player on their board, and no position is safe. We should know this by now. No position is safe, even the quarterback position, when Ballard is drafted. So overall, it's a very interesting one. I like it from a competition standpoint. Do I think maybe there were some players there they should have looked at? Sure, I do. But overall, that's kind of our thoughts here on the Sam Ehlinger pick. A little bit of a shocker here in the 6th round. Ballard wanted to make sure we were still awake and still paying attention. I clearly wasn't, but Derek was.
I was half out.
So that woke us up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you guys think of the Sam Ehlinger pick? I know there's been some people who have been very confused by this draft in certain ways. Derek, I personally love this draft. I think maybe that's a little bit of going against the grain for what a lot of people say, but I'm like, we've talked about, we'll talk about this in other videos, but basically I'm like, we talked about competition, and Ballard has really, really put in the competition this year.
It's really making me think, and I saw this on Twitter a couple times, that maybe there's not as many gaps in this team as people originally thought, right? Because we were saying, edge rush, tackle, corner, get a tight end, get offensive line depth. Well, he spent all offseason getting offensive line depth. He got plenty of defensive line guys in this draft. You got the tight end that you wanted.
Yep.
You got another secondary guy to help out. We don't think there wasn't much of a cornerback need for them because they felt they had a good enough depth already. Yeah. And they might get a wide receiver here in the 7th round. And apparently, still left to be said about the left tackle room. Still have no idea what this means for any of it. But I mean, nonetheless, I think going with the quarterback at the 6th round kind of just makes you think maybe Ballard doesn't feel that this team is that far behind as some of us originally thought.
And maybe he does think there are other ways that you can address it, not in the draft. There are still some tackles available, some veteran tackles, although maybe they do roll with Sam Tevy, and that would be a lot of surprise to a lot of people. But I do think the Colts are going to address some of these positions a little bit later on after the draft. And you got to remember, there's going to be some undrafted free agents that are going to come in. I mean, we saw last year a guy like Michael Harris came in and played a role for them. So, you know what? A little bit of a surprise here, but the Colts are going to get a whole class of undrafted free agents. There's probably going to be some veteran cuts here coming up soon. So the Colts are going to get an opportunity to fill some of these positions if they don't have full faith that they have the right amount of depth or talent there. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thanks for tuning in so much. And as always, go Colts.